Hello Steve. Hello Joe. It's time to game classy.
That's the bad mic.
That's the bad mic. Bad mic.
It's a bad mic. It needs discipline. It racks a discipline.
So you don't want to get into some fantasy World War I figures?
Oh, dude, I'm ready.
Dude,
this is finally the thing that's going to get me into historical gaming.
Dude, I that's one aspect of minigaming that I cannot stand. It's fantasy versions of real armies, but what I'm talking about is like Napoleonic elves and shit like that.
They do offer a prime trolling opportunity though.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. I was talking about that when we were playing Bolt Action this week. I was like, man, that would be fantastic. Rolling up with like your German
Orc-talions.
Yeah.
Orc-talions,
yeah.
And you make their fucking tanks look like wagons and
Oh,
stuff.
people would get so cheap. Actually, most of the people would be like, that's pretty funny. But then you get some people would be like, I don't know if you could play with that army. Like at on the tournament level.
Oh yeah, no, this would be a strictly and
Yeah.
it would be the cheesiest like win at all costs list you could possibly make, because not only do you want to tilt them by the fact you're playing with fantasy figures in their historical game, but you're shitting on them using the most broken shit available.
Yeah, just all cavalry and flamethrowers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever you can do to make the list as unfair as possible, as unfun as possible.
Anyway, welcome to Game Classy.
You're not doing it right if you aren't ruining other people's hobby.
Welcome to Game Classy. I'm your host, Joe, and with me, as always, is the Jack Skellington of this little Halloween town, Steve.
In this town we call home, everyone hail to the pumpkin song.
My daughter's been obsessed with that movie lately.
It's a sweet movie. It doubles down.
I like it because
It's a Halloween and a Christmas movie.
I like it because it's only 70 minutes long. That's what I like it. So I don't have to sit through the entire dang thing. It gets kind of slow. It does. There's parts where it slows down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love Danny Elfman, but man, some of those songs they just like to drag. They're like dirges.
Danny Elfman did the soundtrack to the Goosebumps movie.
Danny Elfman. Did you see the Goosebumps movie?
It was fantastic.
Oh my god, what are you, like 12?
It was great. It was actually quite good. It was much better than Crimson Peak.
Yeah, I'm going to see Crimson Peak tonight.
I was really disappointed by Crimson Peak.
Well, I don't really trust you 100% on it because you like the Goosebumps movie.
You haven't seen the Goosebumps movie. You can't judge.
I thought
when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, that movie's going to be the stupidest fucking thing in the world. But I should go see it because I loved reading Goosebumps. And actually, after watching it, I was like, wow, the movie was actually really good.
You know,
and you know what? Even Rotten Tomatoes agrees with me.
I think that Goosebumps is kind of like Pokemon, where just kids just a few years younger than me got it, and I did not get it.
Did you read Fear Street?
No, I didn't read any of that BS because I actually...
Well, Fear Street was the older kids.
Yeah, well, that's because I was already like a teenager when those came out, and I was like, well, fuck this shit. I'm going to read young adult books that have sex in it.
That was Fear Street. Fear Street had gore and murders.
Did it have nipples?
Maybe. Fear Street was marketed at... Fear Street was the teenagers version of Goosebumps. Yeah, that's what it was. R.L. Stein wrote Goosebumps for the little kids, and then Fear Street for teenagers.
Actually, by the time I was a teenager, I was reading a lot of Stephen King at that point. So it's like, I was like, this is BS scary. I'm more into Stephen King where there's like, there's nipple torture.
R.L. Stein has sold more books than Stephen King.
Yeah, well, he's also written much more books. I don't know. Stephen King's book on writing is one of the best books about writing I've ever read in my life. Anyway, besides the point, we got a lot to talk about today. We got. Should we start with just some regular news? Where's your Kingdom Death?
In its box.
You still haven't opened it yet?
Nope.
You are the worst human being known to
buried
mankind.
in my closet.
Ugh. Anyway, Kickstarter Super Dungeon Explorer Legends came out with the Kickstarter.
The Redux.
Yeah, and it actually looks really nice.
It's much better than the original.
Yeah, second edition.
Which, I mean, is reasonable because the original came out in, what, 2010?
Yeah, it was about 5 years ago, I would say. Yeah. So they're doing a second edition of the main rule set. They resculpted all the models. They look really nice.
There are warbands.
Yeah, they're adding more warbands. They're adding another level box, which is nice. They're doing an Underdark level box.
There's special dice too, because there's a campaign mode now.
Yeah, that's the part of the Legends is the campaign mode, because the actual second edition box. I'm not buying the second edition box because I already have the first edition, and it's the exact same components, just resculpts and everything like that. And if you bought their last Kickstarter, which is Forgotten King, you got all the updated stuff, so you didn't have to worry about it. And the stretch goals are actually nice because the rule 63ing the main character. So like your dwarf will now have a female dwarf, so you can have
It should look exactly the same though.
Yeah,
'cause it's a dwarf.
Yeah.
So beard.
Yes.
That would be clever.
But
If they 63'd all of them.
They do. There are going to 63 all of them, but there's no beard on the female dwarf. They already showed it.
Missed an opportunity.
I know.
Just like they missed sculpting the giant sloppy horse vagina on the centaur.
Yes, they did. Actually, I played it with some guys on last Sunday. This is my first time actually playing Forgotten King. I hadn't played Forgotten King like really since I got the box set, and it played really well. The updated rules are real nice.
You're a Forgotten King.
Yeah, because in the old edition they would have the tracker, which is that after you kill like a certain number of models, then the mini boss would come out. But they actually changed it so now mini bosses only come out if you kill the spawning points, which it actually is a little nicer. I played it a little easy on them because they were playing for the first time.
Well,
so.
I don't care for Super Dungeon Explode.
Yeah, you don't like the rules, yeah. The second edition's pretty cool. I would maybe give it a retry with second edition. Works a little better. And the Legends is the campaign mode, so you get special stuff.
Well, yeah, that's a different thing. That sounds more appealing.
Yeah. And the thing is I don't like campaigns. I don't like campaign modes for dungeon crawls. I just don't like it. It just never did anything for me. Because I don't play it enough to make it like a campaign worthwhile, Like that's something you have to like literally sit down and do all the time.
Not really.
Or like on a regular basis.
Actually, that brings up a good point. That is based on how well the game tracks, really.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of games where you can pick it up a month later and it's fine because the game just tracks very well, and there's other games where it doesn't track that great, and then you have to try and remember a bunch of shit.
Well, that's always like been my problem with like Mordheim and Necromunda. I love those games, but I always have problems because like we'll play once and then we won't play again for like a year and a half, and then I'm like, well, what's the point of even doing this?
My idea for if I was going to do a dungeon crawling game, I'd give all the players a deck box.
A dick box?
Not a dick box. A deck box. A dick box. They can also have a dick box, but we'll have a deck box as well. A deck and dick. And what you do is you make sure everything's on cards. So at the end of the session, you take all of your cards for your character, you put them in your warrior deck box, and then the next time you play, you're like, oh, you were playing the warrior. Here's everything you had.
Yeah.
And there's no record keeping. It's just simple. It's just like, oh, hey, it's already done for you.
Yeah.
So that's easier.
Yeah. I liked there was a lot of mechanics that were fixed in the second and in the Forgotten Kings rules that I actually did like a little bit better, and I think maybe playing with the tracking with your character might be a little more fun, and it would also give you an opportunity to use a lot more of the level boxes and stuff like that.
Also, Super Dungeon Explorer doesn't exactly take long, so I could very easily see banging out like four linked campaigns in four adventures in one
which
night.
Is really nice because now that they have like a couple level boxes, they got a bunch of mini bosses that you can actually do some fun stuff with it. So I really there was a couple things that I wanted to talk about. What's the other one? Oh, do you want to talk about the Star Wars
your crippling porn addiction?
My crippling porn. That's not crippling.
Oh,
just gives me crippling arthritis. You want to talk about the Star Wars the Star Wars trailer?
No.
By the way, Pat B cannot. Every time I mention Star Wars, he just does that all the time now. We've made a convert.
I am so over people being excited about Star Wars. Like, fucking stop.
Isn't it like annoying? It's kind of like, here's the thing, like I actually kind of want to enjoy it.
I want it to be awful. I want it to be worse than the prequels.
That's physically impossible. That will not happen.
You know what? I don't think it is. I think it's possible.
You know what? If we didn't see what we saw, it could very well be possible.
Hey, Phantom Menace. If you watch the trailer for Phantom Menace, it still looks cool.
It does.
If you just watch the trailer, you're like, "Whoa, that looks awesome!"
Yeah,
and it does not convey that film at all. So that stands to reason that J.J. Abrams could take a giant shit on the Star Wars franchise.
I'd say it's
I
possible.
I just want it. I want it. I want it to be the fucking worst.
The odds are
thing
so
in the world.
high, though, of that happening. Like, I would give it probably 100-to-1 odds of that movie being terrible.
I mean, I mean,
it could be bad.
I think the odds are better than that. Like, way or worse. Like, I think there's so much riding on it.
Yeah.
I think they're putting like the best talent in the industry, like
Yeah.
period. Like I don't think they're gonna miss anything.
No, I think
I want them to though.
Yeah, I think that entire movie's been like sourced, like every single aspect of it has been vetted and approved. But the what was I going to say? The I want to enjoy it, but like the amount of like stupid fandom about it just makes it so unenjoyable. It's just like, just let me enjoy this by myself, like I did when I was like 12, because no one else liked Star Wars back then,
Right.
Or they were all.
Well, now it's cool to like Star Wars.
Now it's cool to like Star Wars, so that's okay.
Because now being a nerd is okay.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
I do not agree with it either. Anyway, I wanted to give an update on the auction. I want to give you my state of the gaming industry address, and if you
at least the local suburbs of Chicago.
at least the local suburbs of Chicago. Yeah, so if you follow us on Facebook, I did a thread on it, and it's going pretty well. I got about like exhausted about around 1 o'clock, and I was like, "Fuck this."
I'm glad you make those guys pay a little bit more for those Lord of the Rings figures.
Oh my god, fucking A. Okay, so the thing I can say is that fuck resellers. Now, there's usually like a couple in there, but they're like usually pretty focused. Like, okay, I'm going to only be buying this. This is what my reselling thing is all about. This guy was bidding on everything, driving the price up on every single lot that came up, especially if it was Games Workshop. But he was doing everything. Any major game that was up there. So if it was like some historical nonsense models, he wasn't bidding on it. But everything else he was bidding on. And there was like a ton of Lord of the Rings medals. Now, they go for a ton
Lord of the Rings
online.
medals is the most valuable Games Workshop product is Lord of the Rings medals.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah. So they by the way though, well, I can take a detour. Heard it from a reasonable source that the Games Workshop license for Lord of the Rings goes up in I think January or February, and after that I think Games Workshop's dropping the line. So if you want any Hobbit stuff or anything like that, your time to buy it is going to be in the next few months, because after that the market's going to go shoot straight up,
skyrocket,
and then after 6 months it's going to go because no one's going to be wanting it anymore.
Right.
Which is not necessarily true, because people will always want Lord of the Rings because
it's highly collectible.
So anyway, they would have a couple lots of Lord of the Rings stuff, and this guy would just every time he'd go super high on it, like to the point where I'm like, I don't even know if it would go for this high on eBay. I mean,
a lot of times, if you're as someone who has definitely purchased for the intent of selling something, not like everything, but very specifically going like, I know that's valuable, I want to buy it for cheap, and I fucking nailed it with those Tyranids. I made so much fucking money off those Tyranids. A lot of times you just go for an equalize.
Yeah.
If I paid $20 too much on this one item, but I paid $20 less on this item, as soon as I sell those on eBay for their going market rate, I'm in profit.
Yeah.
Or like they balance out and I make my profit elsewhere. Because the whole goal is shutting everyone else down.
Yeah.
Like you want to stranglehold it, and like people are too a lot wiser nowadays.
Yeah.
Like when I bought those Tyranids, I was getting them for like $5 or $6 a blister, and no one was bidding on them. Epic Tyranid medals, no one was fucking bidding.
And now
on them.
Epic is ridiculous,
Right? So like I just snuck in there, and I ended up selling everything I sold was at least $20, and I was spending $5 or $6 on it, and no one was competing with me because they're just like, they're Epic Tyranids, who fucking cares?
Yeah,
I cared.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it was definitely like that would have been a buyer's auction if it wasn't for that fucking reseller. Now it got to the point where I was like, when he raised his hand, I would raise my hand just to jack his price up, because I was getting so fucking tired of him and his nonsense. And I like, so he'd be like up like 25, and I know how much that would be worth. I know how much you could probably get for it on eBay. I just keep raising my hand, wait for him to go down, then go down right away. That's what I do every time, because I was so sick of his nonsense.
Nice.
He drove me absolutely up the wall. But aside from that, there was a bunch of Lord of the Rings medals there, some nice stuff too. A lot of dwarf medals. And I know there was one Haradrim lot, but they didn't have the camel riders on there, which I knew you were looking for.
Camel riders are the camel riders they're hard to find. You can order them off of GW and resin now, but like they're not the metal ones. So
you want the metal ones.
You want the metal ones,
and they're not.
And like I would actually pay the prices that they have on the GW site if they were metal.
Yeah,
like. That's the thing that still boggles my mind that they fucking jacked the price up on their metal figures when they turned them to resin.
Yeah, well,
it's just
like they jacked the prices on the figures when they changed to the resin.
Right. They made the figures a reasonable price for a metal equivalent, but did not produce them as in metal.
Yeah. Well, and
Absolute-
yeah, well, that's
absolute
the
nonsense.
The Finecast experiment was a disaster,
Yeah.
and everyone agrees with that.
Right.
There's not a single. Even GW agrees with it. They're like they got rid of Finecast off of
Yeah,
their.
because it's all just resin now. It's
Yeah.
Forge World. As far as I know,
It's just the
Forge
Forge
World
World,
handles
yeah.
all of the otherwise Finecast.
Yeah.
You don't get Finecast anymore. You get resin from Forge World.
Yeah. What else? What other notes I had on there? There was a lot of not a lot of the fantasy stuff. I was expecting this was the first auction after Age of Shitmar, so I was kind of expecting a big product dump. Not a lot. A decent amount, but no more than usual.
I think a lot of people are just holding out, because it's different because there's a lot of people who aren't quitting. They're just going to Kings of War.
Well, and not even that. They're still sticking around playing 8th edition.
Sure,
I had
whatever.
a hefty argument with Dan Delanois about the merits of 8th edition.
8th edition's trash. If Delanois thinks 8th edition is good, I know that Delanois has no taste in games.
He thinks that there's a good game inside 8th edition.
Oh, inside 8th edition?
Yeah.
I mean, sure, but then at that point, why don't you just make up your own rules?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Just write your own
That's what
rule
he
set.
wants to do.
Okay,
and
that's fine. Then you don't need 8th edition.
I was like, there's nothing good in 8th edition. There's very few things worth saving in 8th edition.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that I liked in 8th edition, and it's just...
Well, I mean, he did have one good point, which was that
I like the terrain. The terrain rules in 8th edition were pretty good.
I hated the terrain rules.
With the special...
I hate that. I hate that so much.
Oh, I like that special stuff.
Well, okay, here's part
I
of the
didn't like that it was... You know what was wrong? It was... The problem is I like special terrain features that have, cool effects. The problem is, 8th edition, every single terrain feature had it.
Yeah.
So, if you have 10 pieces of terrain, and they all do something cool or unique, as soon as more than one piece does it, it loses that oomph.
What I hate that all of the terrain pieces that had it were only to be sold by Games Workshop. It's not like you could make your own, but
Oh, well, I meant stuff like the woods or the graveyard.
Yeah.
That stuff. There's because that's
is it a spooky graveyard?
well, that's a thing that's been in Warhammer since 6th.
Yeah.
Because they put that in different scenarios where there were specific terrain features that had an effect,
Yeah.
but they weren't in the core rule book. So this one put it in the core rule book. They went overboard as per usual.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
that's GW's biggest problem is they're always just overboard.
Yeah.
They should do 8, but they do 20. Calm down.
Well, that's I ended up buying a bunch of fantasy stuff that I got for pretty cheap, nice 8th edition stuff that you normally would cost you an arm and a leg to buy, and I ended up getting it for pretty cheap. I got some 8th edition Dark Elf stuff for next to nothing. I got some 6 metal stuff for next to nothing too. I mean, I shouldn't say next to nothing, but way cheaper than cost.
Yeah.
Right. So I got 2 boxes of Dark Elf witches, the metal ones, not the plastic ones that are $60 a piece, but the 10-man boxes, the metal ones. I got those. I think I paid $30 for the two.
I might correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't they a core troop for Dark Elves? Witch Elves?
Witch Elves, I think, are special.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Corsairs are core.
I mean, 60 for 10 is still ludicrous, even if they're special choice.
Yeah.
But I'm still thinking a core, fucking $60. Jesus Christ.
I think we talked about this years and years and years ago about the cost of those, and the only reason why they cost that much is because of conversion.
Yeah.
People want them for conversion bits, and they know that those boxes are going to get bought up, cut up, and sold, which
Right.
would make them more money, I think, if they sold them cheaper, because more people would buy them.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody knows what Workshop's doing. Not even Workshop.
No. Well, because what was I going to say? Because what's that company that's doing Toughest Girls in the Galaxy? They do the Kickstarters all the time for it.
I don't know. Ironwind? No, not Ironwind. Ironwind's Relpartha.
Yeah, I was going to say Ironwind does a lot of BattleTech stuff.
Yeah, it's all the old Relpartha shit.
Yeah. They also did a bunch of Babylon
Bombshell
stuff.
miniatures, is it?
Something, I don't know. But they do that all the time. Speaking of which, well, maybe I'll get to this in a second. But anyway, on the auction, not a lot of Flames of War. Not as much as there usually is. I think Flames of War is really, really, really dying down at this point.
Good.
Well,
that is my response to that.
Okay.
Good.
So I don't know how you feel about this, because this is not historical, but it's in the Flames of War model style. So Battlefront is doing a fictional World War III game called Team Yankee. So it's U.S. versus Soviets, but it's not historical. So how do you feel about that, Steve? Steve is bowing his head and praying to the mini god.
I'll fucking stab myself in the goddamn eyes.
No.
That's awful. That sounds
Yeah.
fucking terrible.
It actually looks pretty cool.
I don't care. That sounds fucking stupid as shit.
What sounds stupid about it?
It's for, oh, hey, we're doing an alternate future. It's United States versus Soviets. Hey, you played Command and Conquer? So did we. We made miniatures about it.
Well, I like
Fucking
Command and Conquer.
dildos.
Did you like Command and Conquer?
Command and Conquer's fine, but it's a fucking video game.
Yeah,
you don't need to make... Not everything needs to be a fucking miniatures game.
I agree with that. Like, why we don't need Terminator Genesis.
Oh, no, dude, fuck that. I hate their fucking scale. I hate their fucking models. I hate fucking historical shit. And I hate spin-off historical shit. Fuck that. It's fucking bullshit.
It's funk that. Actually,
Funk it.
the coolest thing I saw when I was at the auction was there was a guy selling a Mighty
Mighty Max?
not Mighty Empires. The Fortress, the Mighty Fortress.
Oh, yeah.
But the foam one, the old
the
fucking
shitty one?
Yeah, but it was like mint in box with none of the, because you know how the door has to
Well, yeah,
get
'cause
cut out
nobody
of it.
plays it.
Yeah. But it was beautiful, and it ended up going for like $200.
Wow. Whoever
Well,
bought
it
that's
was-
a fucking idiot.
Well, no, because it was two sets, and it came mint with all the plastic bits that come with it. That's not an idiot. That's a fucking awesome piece.
That's garbage. It's foam.
So.
Make it yourself as it's fucking foam.
You know, no, I've seen people's skills. I would not trust that.
If
There
it's-
are still people who use the fucking computer case things that, like, when you get in the cardboard box, the thing that holds your computer in. There are people who use that for fucking terrain. Okay, Steve, and it's not like they even paint it. They just put it out there, and it's it's the pebble foam or whatever that's called. The gritty foam, and I'm just like, and you look at it, and they're like, this is my squat fortress, and you're like, oh, this is terrible. And then sometimes they're even dumber because they take spray paint and they try and spray paint the color. But
No, you got to use, what is it, the plant foam?
Yeah.
Gardening foam? I don't know what the fuck it's called.
the green foam, yeah.
Yeah, the green foam. That's good for absolutely nothing.
Well, no, and then they take this and then they spray it with the aerosol spray paint, and it dissolves the foam, and they're like, no, my squat fortress,
My squats.
No.
Yeah,
Anyway,
no.
but yeah, so
I wouldn't pay that kind of money for a fucking foam piece of terrain. Not in a fucking million years.
yeah. So my final,
Especially one that's just basically fucking rectangle.
yeah, I know. So my
I mean, I can't speak for the plastic bits. If there's a shit ton of them and they're really nice, then maybe that's why you buy it. But like for the foam castle, fuck that. That's fucking dildos.
it's fucking dildos. So my So my kind of final thing I could say about the state of the gaming in the Northwest Chicago suburbs is fuck resellers. That was my thing I came out of it with.
Great.
Just fuck resellers. There wasn't a lot of Worm Horde stuff up either, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Well, I mean, Worm Horde is definitely in a downward trend.
It's trending downwards. It's trending downwards.
It's trending downwards. I mean, maybe like play wise it's up or whatever, but money wise it's down.
I saw a lot of Kickstarter stuff that was up for auction. It seemed like people who had went whole hog on Kickstarters and were getting rid of a couple things here and there. Like there was some Robotech stuff. There was some
Robotech
Relic Knights. I saw some Wrath of Kings stuff. I mean, but it wasn't like a ton. So I'm just assuming like the people
extras.
Yeah, extra stuff. People are so salty about Robotech.
Yeah,
so salty.
well, a lot of those Kickstarters are you get so much, like
You get so much,
right? So you're like, I'm buying, this is $100 for $300 worth of stuff, but I actually really only want these two factions, so I'll just sell these other two.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, that's a reasonable stance to have.
Yeah, I see nothing wrong with that. And there was, of course, during the board game night, there was a lot of like zombicide and shit like that, which is something I think is kind of unique. I don't know how you.
Did you say something was unique about zombicide?
Well, so Super Dungeon Explorer Legends is the second Kickstarter in the Super Dungeon Explorer, because the first one actually wasn't a Kickstarter, which is kind of like weird. Like you think that
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure it was.
No, it wasn't. I looked into it. It was not a Kickstarter because I thought it was too.
I thought it was a Kickstarter from Cool Mini.
No, Super Dungeon Explorer, not a Kickstarter from Cool Mini. The second one was a Kickstarter, but Relic Knights was a Kickstarter through Cool Mini,
yeah,
which was also done by Soda Pop. But so the Super Dungeon Explorer Legends was the second one. Forgotten King was the first one, and it's trending upwards. Like it's gonna make the first one. The Forgotten King made like 1.2. This one's probably gonna do higher. And I was looking, I was like, because I was wondering if there's like a downward trend with these Kickstarters. Like, is it like maybe the first one does decent, the second one goes up a little higher, the third one goes down?
If the game's successful, it usually goes up. If it's
does.
successful and it delivers,
yeah,
the game's next Kickstarter is generally more.
So like I was looking at Zombicide. Zombicide went from like decent to this last one they did, the fourth Kickstarter that they did, $4 million on it.
The Black Plague one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't like Zombicide. I played it and I thought that game was trash. Even I thought the last one was fucking sweet looking.
Well, the minis were definitely
Right,
sweet.
the minis
looking.
were fucking sweet, but it also added more than just zombies. There was like the necromancers and like werewolves and shit.
Yeah.
Like that was cool. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's medieval. Like that's sweet. So like that one, I mean, I didn't back it, but like if I were going to back a Zombicide, that's the one I would have backed.
Yeah.
So like building on your previous successes is good. You know, it's just like Mantic. Mantic keeps fucking shooting out
yeah.
great
But
Kickstarter after great Kickstarter.
But I think mini games work differently because you look at like Mears or Mantic, their Kickstarters do well, but they generally level. Like they're good.
well, I mean, miniatures games always have the flaw of not being complete.
Yeah, well, and not only that, but it's you also have problems with factions. So like, oh, this is a Kickstarter for all these new factions. Well, I don't want to play with these new factions. I already have my faction.
Because it's not complete.
Yeah.
You know, like the Mercs Kickstarter they did for the board game was the most
Myth?
brilliant. No, the one for Mercs Second Ed.
Okay, yeah,
it
yeah.
wasn't actually Mercs Second Ed. It was called like Mercs Operation something. I don't
Operation
know.
Poophole?
Yeah,
We'll call
sure.
it Operation
Poophole and Operation Dick Smack
Ooh,
because there were
Operation-
2 boxes.
Oh, Dick Smack and Poophole.
So what they did is they are new faction. They're not new factions. They're resculpts of 2 factions each, plus a generic. So Operation Dick Smack has the like Chemvar and like the HVs, and then they're battling security forces.
Yeah.
But it's a board game. Mm-hmm. It's a complete like espionage, like special ops board game. Also, they work for the game Mercs.
Yeah.
So that did way better than they did for Myth. That Kickstarter did way better, and it did better than the average minis Kickstarter, especially one that's the game size of Mercs, where Mercs has like 6 figures.
Nice.
And then Operation Dickhole, or whatever the other one was, has the 2 other factions plus a generic security force, also built as a board game.
Yeah.
And then each thing, there were little expansions, which were new models for the various factions, but also an expansion for the board game. And that's the thing. If you can create a complete game like that, you can do much more than trying to actually sell it as a minis game.
No, you're absolutely right. I agree with that, and that's like Ninja All Stars did that kinda, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
And they originally was like the box set has 2 factions in it, but they were in the Kickstarter. They was like, these are all 4 factions. This is all we're gonna do for it. Boom,
Right.
and it did very well because it's a cool little thing. I'm gonna stick with Super Dungeon Explorers, like my Kickstarter game. Like I will probably buy all of their Kickstarters for that, and I'm gonna take a serious look at most of Soda Pop because they do deliver on time and they deliver quality product. I'm sure, like I got the Wrath of Kings one was a great one, but it just took so long to come out, and I have troubles.
So did Relic Knights.
Yeah, Relic Knights was Cool Mini.
Yeah.
That's why the thing is I don't trust Cool Mini unless it's a Cool Mini game. Like they're speaking of
I waited for Wrath of Kings, and I feel very satisfied with that decision.
well, yeah, it was you just picked up all the stuff from cheap for people to get rid of it. What's the Viking one that came out? The Kickstarter, was it Blood Rage?
Fire and Axe. Oh yeah, there's Blood Rage.
Yeah, that's the one that I think Cool Mini
I
did.
don't think it's a minis game. I thought that was a board game.
It is, but I was just gonna say,
it's their take on the Fire and Axe, a Viking saga, which is a game that was just produced by IDW.
so my buddy Mick, he bought into it, and he says, "I'm surrounded by tiny plastic Vikings. I have no idea how to paint. I have fully committed to a lifestyle I cannot even begin to follow through with. I regret nothing."
That's great.
I'll teach him how to dip.
You shouldn't. Spray it, wash it, call it a day.
the Steve method.
You know what? It gets it done.
It gets it done.
Besides, I'm never going to spend the amount of time required to win. Like, I mean, not that I'm playing any fucking tournament games anytime soon, or tournaments that have like paint scores, because that's pretty much GW only. But like, I would never be willing to put in the amount of time into a Warhammer sized army that would ever have the chance of winning best painted. There's just no fucking way. Because there's guys who like, I remember there was a tournament, I saw a dude, he had a fucking gorgeous Beastman army. It was probably one of the best armies I've ever seen in person.
Was there dongs?
I think he actually did dick on his Minotaurs, now that I think about it. Because he used his own Minotaurs. He sculpted them himself.
Wow, okay.
So, yeah. But it's like the best looking army I think I've ever seen in person. And I'm like, dude, this army's fucking great. And he's like, oh yeah, I started it like 8 years ago. And I'm like, are you fucking shitting me? I'm like, this is like 2,400 points. And I'm like, oh, so how big is your army? And he's like, this is it. I'm like, what? The fuck is wrong with you, man? I mean, he did win Best Painted at that tournament.
Yeah.
But like, there's no way. Like, I think it's cool, and I think it's great that people are like super into doing that. But for me, I would rather just like paint, quote unquote, and sell like 10 armies in that time frame.
I sort of agree with you in that I would rather paint to my standard at least, and I paint fast, but I would rather, get through the stuff, do a decent job with it.
Yeah, I mean,
enough that I can put it on the table, and most scrubs would be like, "Oh, that's a really good paint job."
So most of the time, if you do base coat, wash, highlight, and you do it decently, you're usually better than 90% of other people on the table.
Okay, I wouldn't say 90%, but you could get a decent amount, and it's there are a lot of scrubs out there, a lot of scrubs.
Yeah. So
but isn't Blood Rage doesn't it kind of work like Chaos in the old world?
I don't know. I don't know anything about Blood Rage.
I'm gonna have to take a look. I'll go over to mix.
I know Cthulhu Wars is like Chaos in the old world.
I know Cthulhu Wars is. They're doing like a second edition of that, ain't they?
It's an expansion. It's more Cthulhu Wars.
Oh.
They have their miniatures are fucking gigantic.
They're huge. No, I saw them at Gen Con.
Very
they're
cool.
Really cool looking. It's expensive Kickstarter though.
Yeah. I mean, the game is expensive.
Yeah, that's a real.
I mean, that's the other thing that's happening too. Is like there's a lot of blowouts happening with crowdfunding and the Kickstarter thing, where like people are not there, and like I'll use Kingdom of Death as an example. Kingdom of Death ended up costing $700,000 more than they raised in the Kickstarter campaign. Because
he was like a perfectionist. He wanted to make sure that
that is true, but still, like, there's that's not a unique thing. Like, he delivered.
Oh, yeah.
He delivered. It took a while, but he delivered. And actually didn't even take that long looking at some of the other Kickstarters I've seen last while.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes that happens, and it happens a lot. You see a lot of games where like they end up folding before the Kickstarters even come out because their costs are just all out of whack.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to be careful with that sort of thing, which is, it's hard. But anyway, so I wanted to get into a couple things because it's Halloween coming out, and I want to talk about what I'm doing this year for Halloween. Spoopy. I wanted to show you what I picked up with some of my auction winnings. Boom.
Oh, it's the Zompocalypse End of the World.
Yeah.
You should have got the other ones.
No, well, I could, but I wanted to pick this one up specifically for Halloween.
Could you survive a zombie apocalypse?
Okay.
The answer is no.
The
answer is no.
So let me talk about this really quick for this. One of the coolest things about this game is that you play as yourself. So when you're rolling up a character, you play Steve, the co-host of Game Classy, and you get 10 points to build on six characteristics. You get dexterity, vitality, logic, willpower, charisma, and empathy. Right? So you get to you start at 1, you can go up, add as many up to 10 points. But what's really cool is that after you design your character, then it goes to committee. So then all the people playing get to vote on whether or not your stats go up or down based upon whether or not they think that. So like let's say you're like, oh, my vitality, which is like your physical strength. You're like, my vitality is like really good. I'm going to give myself a 4, and it only goes up to 5. So you get 1 to 5. So he's like, I'm going to give myself a 4 in vitality, and everyone goes, no, dude, you got chicken arms. And so you do a silent vote on it with dice in a bag to whether or not the.
All right. Yeah. So I'm giving myself. I'll score myself right now.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna go with a 2 in dexterity.
Okay. I would say a 2 in dexterity is pretty good.
Yeah. And use of vitality is just strength.
Well, vitality is like physical strength, like ability to run, things like that.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate looping because if it's just physical strength, I would give myself a 4. But if it was running, I would give myself a 2. So I guess I'll just settle with a 3.
Yeah, I might go down to maybe I'll give you a 3. I'll give you a 3 because you could probably swing a hammer. So mental logic is just ability to figure out things. That's a trap. I'm not going in there.
I'm gonna give myself a 4 for logic.
That's pretty high because you already wasted 3, 6, 7 points, so you only got 3 left for the last 3.
Oh, that's right. I have to spend a certain amount of points, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'll give myself a. That's a lot of points. Fuck. Well, my empathy's at a 1.
Yeah, I'll give you empathies at a 1, but willpower is like your ability to think out of a situation. It's also ability to like remember things. So like you're like, man. Oh shit, I remember how to. Well, I could say I'd hotwire a car.
My personal stats are definitely higher on charisma, willpower, and logic.
I'll give you your charisma might be a little like your charisma's ability to make friends, the ability for people to like you, and empathy is like your ability to just like understand a situation, understand what a person's going through, and kind of work.
I understand it. I just don't give a fuck.
Empathy works really well for. Well, that's the other thing is that so you get traumas in the game. So like, let's say you get your car gets into a car accident, you can see that as a mental trauma or a physical trauma. Empathy helps take care of like emotional trauma.
All right, then I'm definitely a 1 on empathy.
Yeah. But there's also the way that the game works is you get like a dice pool, right? And you get 1 die for your features.
This is all D6s?
Yeah, D6s. So you get like positive features and negative features. So let's say that you have the ability to like you're an ex-baseball player, so you could throw a rock or a baseball really well. That's a positive feature.
Right.
But then there's also stuff like you're easily bored, or you're prone to distraction, or you're a terrible liar, things like that. So when you get it, you get a bunch of dice. You get black dice for every negative feature and a white die for every positive feature. And then when you roll it, it's like anything that matches up is taken out automatically. So any ties get taken out. Any white die that beats a black die on a score, you can remove the black die. Then at the end, it has, if you ended up at positive and you're below your score, you can do the action.
All right.
So it's a pretty neat little system. I mean, I'm not 100% sold on it because I think that the dice mechanic is a little too complex, so to speak.
I don't know. That doesn't seem that complicated.
It's not that complicated, but it's just like.
I like the opening illustration of the people gathered around playing a role-playing game with the Zompocalypse happening in the background.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
And they also have the what's really cool is that also this is a very scenario-based game. So there's the whole like first 20 or 30 pages is like how to write up a character and how to play. Mm-hmm. Then the last half of the book.
Yeah, I see. There's a bunch of different scenarios.
There's a ton of different scenarios, and they're all based off like zombie apocalypse scenarios. So they have Night of the Comet, which is totally Night of the Living Dead, the original.
Right.
Then they have like the one with the runner zombies, and then they have which is Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, and they got Pandemic here.
Yeah, they have
which is
pandemics.
They have 2 pandemics. They have a pandemic apocalypse and a pandemic post-apocalypse.
Well, that's what they have. Is they have different scenarios. Is one is usually what goes on when it's happening, they seem to be much more fun to play.
Yes, and then if you survive, you get to go to the next thing. Next level.
If you want to do it, you could go to the post-apocalypse or just start out in the post-apocalypse. And that's kind of very Walking Dead-ish. I don't know if that'd be quite as fun, but I
hit it pretty hard there, Rick.
Pretty hard there, Rick.
Coral. Zombies coral.
So they have all stats and everything. It's not a very complicated game. Very good for one-off. I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it.
It is exactly made for that. That is the express purpose of these games. They are made to be like burner campaign games. Like, hey, let's play this game. Done.
Yeah, I like the.
I actually think this design of role playing is just the best. Like this is the most accessible role playing you can do. This is why I'm starting to get into like I just brokered a deal to get every single Lamentations of the Flame Princess book.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, so that's happening, and for that I want to run modules.
Oh, cool.
Like
you know my feelings. I love modules,
but I think the older you get, the harder it is to just have a group of people come over every week.
Yeah.
It's just fucking impossible. Like, people have kids and they ruin their lives, so then they can't go out when they want.
Yeah.
So you can't just be like, oh yeah, you want to come by Wednesday night? And be like, oh, no, got a wiener kid. And I'll be like, oh, I see. Well, bye. so that happens. And then, they lose their free time. So like, I'm open whenever. I'm like, sure, I can do whatever. And then everyone else is like, well, I got this. So it's so hard to get everyone together just once, let alone every week.
Yeah.
But with a module, you can very easily be like, and use a system like Lamentations, which is D20 based. And that's why I'm not getting super deep into like another role-playing system, because it's just not, like, I'd love to, but no one else is like wants to learn a new system, because it's, that's time. But I think if ever, get people together, meet up, like, hey, you guys want to meet up for like a session at the end of the month on Sunday, and then everyone could clear their schedule if they have a month's lead time, and then show up, you have your characters, you play a module, call it a fucking day. And what you do is, if the characters survive the module, you can bring them to the next one, because they'll still be the right level or whatever. And if not, no harm, no foul. And then the next time you play, you have another module.
Yeah, you can write up a new character or whatever.
Right.
Have you?
And that's why I like Lamentations, because Lamentations is really deadly. This also helps for the this also helps alleviate the cheating GM. I don't do that because I roll out in the open generally.
I don't.
I roll out in the open because I like people like when I roll and I get a 20 and they're like, I'm like, you're critted, and they're just like, yeah, I'm fucking critted, and I'm like, bam, you're fucking dead. I very much like to do like let the dice fall where they may, but that sucks for a game where you're trying to run for multiple years.
Yeah,
like that's fucking brutal. It's like, oh yeah, your character's dead, because like dealing with a character death is always hard because deaths generally are random
and it's emotional.
Well, yeah, depending on how long they last, sometimes they are, but it's random.
My elven princess I've had for 4 years is dead.
Sure, that's fine, but it's generally random. So, like, as the GM, I don't have a like story arc to make that work because in every work of fiction, when a character dies, it's fucking planned. They're like, this is what's going to lead up to their death. This is why they die. This is how they die, and this is how the characters deal with that death. And like it's very specific. Like like Boromir, he dies defending the hobbits, and like that whole situation is like clear. But that's not random. Like in a D&D equivalent to that is almost impossible to do unless you as the GM specifically kill their character, which is bullshit. You should never do that.
Yeah.
Like you never fucking kill a player's character just for your own story. So it's generally random. So like you guys are fighting a Minotaur and I roll and the Minotaur crits you and I roll another like a D12 for his axe and he just does 24 to you. And you've got 6 hit points left. You're just dead. Like it's like Joe, your character's dead. Like yeah. So how like
you fools.
Right. So how do I make like you guys were traveling a fucking labyrinth in a desolate land. What do you do for the next session? Like what the fuck do you do for the next session? But like I guess you guys encounter a vagabond who's like, I'll join the group. Which is why I'm a big fan of the Lamentation style and classic D&D style. Something that they've even 5th edition is bad with. They've removed is the hirelings, like the henchmen.
Yeah,
that was always a big deal for D&D. You always had like a hireling with you, like someone who just like helps you out, or like a spearman. A dude who's like your friend, your compatriot, like a squire. So in the event of a character dying randomly like that, Joe, you would just immediately start playing as your fucking squire. So you're a character who's been here the whole time. It's not in or
who are you? I've been here the entire time.
Yeah, it's like I've been here the whole time. I carried his bag.
Patsy?
Like well, usually like and you would be the NPCs help in a fight. Like they're not great, but they're there to assist and like be your friend. You pay them or whatever. So having that is like a great fallback, and I think that was the intention. I think that's what Gygax meant to do by like having hirelings be.
Don't you put words into Gary Gygax's mouth?
I can't. He's dead.
You get his skull. It's like, hi, I'm Gary Gygax.
Oh man, Gary Gygax's skull.
That would be sweet. That would be. Oh man, do some grave robbing on some Gary Gygax.
That would be an incredibly powerful arcane item. I think
it's a Kickstarter to like retrieve Gary Gygax.
Zoom Gary Gygax. I'm pretty sure Kickstarter wouldn't let that go up. So like that, and that's what I think. I think that was one of the intentions of having the hirelings be part of the classes and easily accessible. Because like, if I remember correctly, paladins just fucking get them. Like when you hit a certain level, you have like followers that just show up and they're like, oh yes.
Well, speaking of D&D, so I was at a local Half Price Books, and apparently someone dumped their entire 2nd edition D&D collection.
Oh, nice.
And they had a shit ton.
Nice.
I bought about $200 worth of stuff. Most like some of the stuff was like obscenely priced. Like, and it always drives me crazy because I see like OOP on a book and I'm like, they're all out of print. They've been out of print for like 15 years now.
Would you be interested in some Dungeons and Dragons trading cards?
No.
They have the stats on them.
No, thank you. But so I went through and I bought everything that was pretty much under like the ridiculous price, like anything under $10 I pretty much bought. And I got a couple box sets and I brought some I brought them here just to kind of show you, along with one really cool like little extra thing. So this was my get.
Oh man, it's Spelljammer.
The Legend of Spelljammer, the original box set. Oh shit.
That's fucking hilarious.
The Legend of Spelljammer.
Spelljammer is the fucking most like 80s thing in the fucking world. Oh man, it's hilarious. Captains and ships, the grand
and
tour.
this guy, as you can see by the boxes, took really good care of his crap.
Yeah, he did. Did you check to see if he wrote in anything?
I did not.
Sometimes I find that like I'll whenever I was into collecting, which I'm no longer doing, but when I was into collecting the old stuff, I would find really, really nice stuff. And I'm like, wow, these are great. These are in like mint condition. And then after I get it home and then look through it, like the fucking dude wrote all over the inside.
It says
like,
inside, it says do not open, and don't open dead
yeah,
inside.
like the maps are fucking like circled. Like you can see, like they used it for gaming. It's just like
oh,
moving
why would you
characters,
use this for gaming?
tracking HP? I'm just like, fuck, I'm like, this module's used.
I don't mind that as much. I sometimes like it because sometimes they highlight like important things,
right?
And I like that. Because
It's also fun. It's also fun sometimes because they put their GM notes in there. So there was one. It was a it was a tower. I can't remember. It was a tower one. It was like Tower of Ruin, I think. I don't know. It's something with a fucking tower in it. But there was notes in there of him tracking the party's HP, and they wiped. It was awesome. I was like, oh, they all died.
It's like reading box scores for baseball games.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a big thing in Japan. I think it's super cool, and I'm kind of upset that they don't do it in the States. But
look at dude, it's even got the mailbag postcard.
Oh
in
yeah,
it.
yeah. I had that in my in a couple of my things. So I don't know what the fuck they call it. Angel Baker knows, but it's a play-by-play of an RPG session, complete, like just what the characters are saying, what the players are doing, with rolls and scores put in, and it's just recorded, and they sell them as like little light novels.
Interesting.
It is just a record. It's like reading. It's like if you read a play-by-play of like a baseball game.
Yeah,
like
box scores. Yeah.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
yeah.
what.
Yeah, they did that. They still do it. They sell like fucking crazy, I guess.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of neat.
I mean, because like I hate watching people play D&D, but I don't think I'd mind that as much. Well, hold off on those just for a second. Put those back. I know you love your little catalogs, but I want to show you something even better.
All right.
So yeah, I got that.
Can you join the adventure?
I also got the. I got two pretty rare Dark Sun boxes. I got City by the Silt Sea and the Ivory Triangle.
I'm gonna let you in a little secret.
What?
I love post-apocalyptic genre. I think it's so fucking cool.
Yeah. Well, I know because you love Dark Sun.
I hate Dark Sun.
Oh, you hate Dark? I thought you loved Dark Sun.
Dark Sun. I might have said that I loved it before, but I was a fucking filthy liar.
Yeah, this is real nice. I mean, the real good box set's full.
Dark Sun is I might have been talking about the video game I had. I had a video game for Dark Sun that I fucking loved. Dark Sun to me was a cock tease. That's what Dark Sun to me was. When I heard about it, I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. Fucking Mad Max D&D, hell yeah. And when I actually played it,
it's not really Mad Max D&D.
No.
It's just you're just playing in a desert. That's all you're doing. There's no like post. Yeah, every once in a while
and there's no
like,
wizards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's what do they call them?
They're priests.
Yeah.
They have. There's no arcane. It's all praying magic.
Yeah, but then they have like every once in a while you'll come across like something like a car or something, and you're like, oh, how do I explain this? And but it's something like Gamma World shit.
Yeah, it's not Gamma World.
No,
that's what that's like. I thought Dark Sun was Gamma World, and it's not.
No.
And then I didn't like Gamma World because Gamma World wasn't exactly like I wanted to do adventure in a post-apocalyptic like a D&D post-apocalypse. So like dead castles and that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like a Europe, like an apocalypse hit like a Middle European fantasy world.
Yeah.
And like you venture through that interestingly.
Actually, I'm reading a book right now by Mark Lawrence. It's The Prince of Thorns. It's like his series. I think it's called The Broken Empire, or the Shattered Empire series. It's very much like that. It's like a post-apocalyptic medieval world. I would recommend. I think you'd like it. It's pretty good. The only problem with it is it has like the 14-year-old super protagonist.
Al-Qadim. I fucking love Al-Qadim.
Well, yeah, you do love Al-Qadim. I know
Yes.
that.
Maybe that's why you thought I was thinking.
There was so much Al-Qadim stuff there, like stuff I've never seen in the wild.
Did you get it?
No, because it was ridiculous. It was like the prices on it were just. It was like the thin box sets that they did for Al-Qadim. Each one of those was like $30, and I'm like,
yeah.
that's no.
Al-Qadim is fucking awesome though.
Yeah, and I have a lot of Al-Qadim stuff, but I'm like, that's too expensive for that. I know I could if I looked for it on eBay.
The Legend of Spelljammer. That's so great.
Spelljammer. But I did find this, and I thought you'd enjoy it. The TSR 1993 hardback catalog.
For 20 years, the D&D, registered trademark, game has captured the imaginations of adventurers everywhere. Wow, that's hilarious.
It was $3, so I was like, I'm gonna pick this up.
That's awesome. There's a release schedule.
There's
in
a
the
release
back.
calendar in the back too,
That's
and
fucking awesome.
it's still mint.
That's great.
Well, the best thing about it is someone paid for this. That's the thing, is like someone bought this back in 1993
It was only $10 for a
I know,
hardcover.
$10 for a catalog.
But it's a hardcover.
Yeah, and it's not even like a full catalog. Like it doesn't like have like picture. Like if it was like a good reference guide, it would be okay.
Do you not remember the workshop catalog?
Yeah, but I use that more as a reference guide more than anything. Like
yeah,
I'd be like, okay, I need this specific bit, and I would look through it, and they'd have a picture of every single bit.
The Fantasy Forest game.
Yeah, this one doesn't have like a picture of every module or anything. If it was like if D&D or Wizards of the Coast put out a catalog it had a picture of every single D&D thing ever released, I would buy that. And I think that's something that should be out there for like collectors.
This has got the campaign backlist here with all the product numbers.
Yeah, but it doesn't have like pictures and like what's in it. Like I would like like a real comprehensive catalog that was like, it's like this one comes with a map. It comes with this, and this. This is what it all looks like.
Well, these things just existed because the internet didn't.
Well, yeah, I know, but that's what I would like.
Carnival of Fear, Ravenloft. That's good stuff. Fucking Strahd. Strahd in hardcover tells the tragic tale of Strahd von Zarovich, Lord of the Dark Lords. Sergei, the young brother of Strahd von Zarovich, loves beautiful Tatiana, but so too does Strahd. To win her hand, Strahd will do anything.
You don't fuck with Strahd, man.
Even enter a pact with death and seal it with his brother's blood. Thus begins the tragic tale of the Darkest Lord, a tragedy that spreads until it ensnares the entire land of Barovia. Oh, that's good stuff. Ravenloft is a cool setting. I like that idea. Like Ravenloft, surprisingly, you know what? Now that I think about it, and if any listener knows and can correct me, I don't believe there's ever been a Ravenloft video game.
Yeah, it's called Castlevania.
What? Right, sure, but I mean, like in the Ravenloft campaign world is fucking made for video games because every little realm is its own thing. There's the Dracula world, which is blah. There's a fucking caveman world in Ravenloft.
I think it'd be hard to do in a video game because Ravenloft was one of those things that like you'd be in like the Forgotten Realms and you'd be like. You'd be like adventuring, and
you'd fall into Ravenloft.
Well, no, you'd be like, all right, so your party's sleeping for the night. All of a sudden, a mist surrounds your camp. You're in Ravenloft, and everyone would be like, "Fuck!" God damn it! But yeah, so I ended up I bought a shit ton of stuff, and there's still a lot there, and it's just some of it was just so ridiculously expensive. Never pay more than unless you know specifically that the module is. Like they had a copy of what was it called?
So much fucking Brahm artwork.
Not Tomb of Horrors. What
Al Qadim, Secrets of the Lamp, Return of the Tomb of Horrors.
No. It's the one that they just did for 5th edition. Not Underdark, but the one they did before, and I can't think of the one with the Princess of the Apocalypse.
Princess of the Apocalypse.
Yeah, but what was that originally called? The Temple of Elemental Evil.
Oh, right.
They had a copy of Temple of Elemental Evil there for $40, which is actually a steal. It's not a steal, but it's a decent price that you could pay for it. But it's like, I'm not going to buy that because I could use that $40 to buy like 8 other manuals that I want.
Dragonlance is worse, though. I hate Dragonlance is my most hated D&D setting.
Well, a lot of people like Dragonlance.
Oh, I know they do.
Chicks dig Dragonlance, man.
It's my most hated.
Chicks loved Dragonlance. No, I like any D&D campaign. You could do something fun in all of them. The problem with Dragonlance is too narrative-based.
Fun? I'm not looking for fun. I'm looking for a challenge.
I'm looking for adventure.
I'm looking for adventure.
Are you looking for big floppy horse vagina?
I consider that adventure.
The greatest of adventure. Steve and
I got in up to my shoulder.
Steve and the quest for horse vagina.
Centaur.
Centaur vagina.
Yes. Otherwise, it's bestiality and it's wrong.
You're right. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Very
100%. Oh man. All right. So we're hitting about the end of the episode. Any other gaming news that we got?
Creative campaigning.
I have creative campaigning at home.
Finally.
Do we have any other gaming stuff we need to talk about? I know I'm forgetting something.
Probably. I don't know.
World War I fantasy gaming? No, we hit that.
I've been absorbed into the video game Undertale, so I've got
DuckTales? You're playing DuckTales?
I actually do own DuckTales for my PS3. It's awesome. It's just a remake of the one for NES. It's got the moon, the moon song. Man, so good.
I don't remember what the moon song was. That's just my 8-bit version of the DuckTales theme right there.
You can look up. It's the most like remixed and like done fucking 8-bit song ever. It's called DuckTales the Moon. The night begins to shine. The night shines.
Dude, that is the greatest episode I've ever seen of like children's television. And
yeah.
And at the
awesome.
end, when Cyborg turns to Optimus Prime,
One shall stand, one shall fall. Yeah.
I was like, Steve has to watch this. Steve has to watch this right now.
Yeah, he
will appreciate this.
It was the best. The absolute best. I loved it. Why do I play the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons game by Steve Winter?
So do we actually have any other gaming stuff?
Like I said, I don't think so. I've just been playing a lot of Undertale. That's my
but
Jimmy
there's
jam.
no releases coming out or anything like that.
Let's see. Next Magic release and Force of Will release are all both December. They just released a Sword Coast Adventures for D&D. That's this week.
Wait, is that like a manual, or is that like a?
It is the first player's book for
really
D&D. Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear anything about this.
Yep, it's called the Sword Coast Adventures. The thing about it is it's done in the same style as the other books, where it's like there's resource and resource and resource.
Oh, okay.
It's the same deal. So this one's a little more skewed for your players rather than the DMs, which are had but even in like the adventure books that they've released so far, there's new classes and stuff.
Yeah.
This one's a little bit more skewed for the players.
Oh, okay.
I think there's more. There's probably new classes. I would imagine.
Nude classes.
Nude classes. Maybe some new rules, etc. This catalog is really cool. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a neat thing to look through and like remember.
Reminisce. I figured you'd like that. All right, so go to planetarbitrary.com for your Planet Arbitrary needs. You can follow me on Twitter at Planet Arbitrary. You can follow Steve at the Game Classy Podcast Facebook page, where he generally posts about anything that's not gaming. Usually about Gunpla.
And webcomics.
And webcomics. Loves his Gunpla.
Dick Champion, care of Game Classy.
It's true. You did put that in there in whatever
fucking awesome
game webcomic thing you did.
It's fucking awesome.
You could listen to us on iTunes, where you could like, comment, subscribe. The best way you could help out the podcast. You could also listen to us on the YouTube page. YouTube page is just under the Game Classy Podcast banner. You could also there listen to Comic Book Logic, which is a sister podcast, where you could get there. Actually, Comic Book Logic is going to be getting its own feed soon. So that's kind of cool. Not on the YouTube page, but on like iTunes, so you could actually subscribe to Comic Book Logic. I gotta set that up.
Are you guys going to cover the Roger Corman Fantastic Four?
We do have plans for that, but not anytime soon.
Yeah.
We're going to try and cover as many of the comic book movies as we can. We're doing I could probably give the I could spoil it. We're going to do Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown for Halloween. Because it's a comic strip. We're going in comic strip logic for that one.
Check it out. Charlie Brown sucks. Peanuts sucks. Fuck Snoopy.
Aww.
Done. There's my review. I didn't even like him when I was a kid. Even when I was a young child, I was watching. I'm like, who the fuck likes this? What a bunch of assholes. I'm a 3-year-old. Fucking idiots. You're a great one, Charlie Brown. Fuck Peanuts. Fuck Charles Schultz. In his mouth. Yeah. I don't know what you're doing. I just assumed it was an epic background for my rage.
No, that was the theme song to Charlie Brown.
I
you could also listen to Play On Podcast with Steve and the Pat's Retro Video Game Reviews if he ever comes back to the land of the living.
Yeah, if he ever comes back from his fucking having sex robots.
Having sex robots?
Yeah.
I haven't heard about sex robots.
Sex robot. What does he want? Sex. Where does he come from? Nobody knows. Sex robot.
Is that a Flight of the Conchords thing?
No. It's from The Whitest Kids You Know.
That pretty much the same thing. So anyway, let's say that. Oh, you can also go to the Game Classy subreddit, our Game Classy, where I haven't really been active, but I mostly post the website and the podcast on there. I'll post gaming news every once in a while if I find it. find something interesting. But it's hard for me. I've been busy at work, so
You're a bunch of gaming news.
I wish I was a bunch of gaming news. I wish I was gaming nudes. So Steve,
Now, when you say wish you were gaming nudes, do you wish you were playing games while nude, or you were just an amalgamation of naked photos of gamers?
that was the original one from when.
When Cyborg was just doing the karaoke?
Yeah, and then the people liked it so much they had to dedicate an entire episode to that song.
Yep.
Which makes me happy because
40%, 40%, 20%.
that's going to be my my that's my ringtone as soon as I can make it. So I'm excited about it. So Steve, until next time,
Everyone should watch 40%, 40%, 20% Teen Titans episode.
Teen Titans Go episode.
Teen Titans Go, yes. Oh, Young Justice is coming back too.
Oh, well, I don't really care about Young Justice.
It's good.
Game Classy.